Hey interns, at this point you have officially been introduced to all the Futura workspace, tools, and resources that you're going to use to help complete your drop pod project. If you're unfamiliar with any of those things, please make sure that you reach out to your internship coordinator. But from this point, we're going to dive headfirst into our research phase of this project. Now, our research today is going to focus on one big important question, and that is, how does collision time affect impact force? And in order to answer this big focus question, we're going to be doing some reading, and we're going to be doing two things with that reading. We're going to be practicing our active reading skills, number one, and two, we're going to be making annotations to help us further understand our reading and to help us answer that question. So before we get into the activity itself, let's talk about our active reading. Whenever we active read, we need to make sure we're keeping track and thinking carefully about what we understand within the reading. So that would include us doing things like reading things more than once to better understand them, making sure that we examine visual representations, diagrams, and pictures and connecting them with what we're reading. And last but not least, identifying things that we want to talk about later so we can better understand them. All of those active reading strategies are great, and we should be using those as we dive into today's activity. The second thing we're going to be doing, along with practicing our active reading skills, is making annotations. Annotations are just notes of important ideas and information to help us better understand the reading. So we're going to be doing things like highlighting important vocabulary words, making notes of questions you have, and noting any connections you have to your personal life with the reading itself. So that's the focus question, our active reading skills, and the annotations we're going to be doing. Now let's look at the actual reading itself. You can find the reading in the day one lesson for Amplify. You can find it either under the second reading, submitting annotations activity, or you can dive directly into the dossier to find it as well. But we are going to be completing an article called Collisions and Impact Forces. So if you don't have that up when you click on the dossier or when you go to the second, let's go ahead and look at it there, activity within your toolbar, you're going to do one of two things. Number one, you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and hit the next button. It'll take you there. Or if you're in the actual dossier itself, you need to click on the three dots and the three lines to go ahead and click on the collision and impact force. Once you're there, you can begin reading. But again, as we're reading, we need to remember a few things. Number one is that focus question, because we're going to come back to that later. So if you're somebody who wants to follow along with what I'm doing, we're going to add our first note or annotation to our reading. So for the title, I'm going to click and drag on it and hit the note button. And I'm going to put my focus question here to remind myself to focus on it as I'm reading or to come back to it later. So how does collision time affect impact force? Making sure that if I have any misclicks, I fix them. Okay. The second thing is I'm going to make sure that as I'm reading, I'm thinking about any questions I have, any important vocabulary I need to focus on or remember or come back to, or any connections I can make as I go along. So I've kind of made a note with all the things I need to remember or come back to at some point as I'm reading. And now I'm ready to begin my active reading, focusing on those strategies to help me focus on what I'm reading and to make sure that I understand it, or I can put myself in a position where I feel comfortable enough to come back to it later with others or to ask questions about it. So at this point, you're ready to go. Remember, drag and highlight things that you want to note, okay? Click on any vocab words to see those definitions you need. Pay attention to any pictures as well. And then once you're done reading, all you're going to go do is find the bottom of your reading number 2 activity here. And you're going to answer this question. How well did this reading help you understand your internship project? This reading was very helpful, somewhat helpful, not helpful, and or confusing. So, complete the reading, make your annotations, answer the question in the second activity when you're done, and you're all set. Make sure to reach out if you need help. Otherwise, good reading, interns.